products, but more importantly, we're going to scale and grow our book of business with existing clients. And so this just is a testament to, we had an ongoing services model with them, and we, by being there and being on the site and having access to the controls that we've installed and we maintain, we secured an additional $500,000 project. So that's pretty cool.
How does it work? Like, how do you go about getting $500,000? Like, is there an application? What's the process of that?
No, so when, say, we have building automation system that's installed in a building, right? So they're using our, maybe Allerton, our Siemens, Honeywell, even our own vac controllers, any product that we've installed, or at least we're maintaining the equipment, we have this inherent advantage by understanding their building, understanding their equipment, understanding the set points, how we manage and maintain that building. So when they're now looking at upgrades, at building out their facility, building new studios, and doing things on their site that require additional solutions, we're in an optimal spot, and really is great opportunity to be able to say, we know your site well, we'll be part of installing additional products, control products that support what we've already been doing for you. And that, by nature, is what we've done with the federal government for about 40 years. We continue to deliver on the servicing of products we've installed decades ago. Wow.
It's pretty amazing when you can get the government to say, hey, you know what, we believe in what you're doing, here's $500,000.
Yeah, I mean, from a government perspective, yes. In this case, it's a private company. They own studios. Can't talk about necessarily who they are, but it's great to see that as they expand and spend significant dollars to expand their footprint, that we come along for the ride. So that's a critical piece of what we're trying to do, is the inside sales, going after existing customer base of the thousands of installations and finding ways of getting more work from that. That's a really big focus that we're on right now.
So we're 3 quarters into your fiscal year. Are your strategic imperatives working right now that you guys are using?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've took over this company effectively last summer. Chris did, our CEO, and I came in late fall. I feel very confident that I'm very bullish of what we've done to bring in additional parts of the business, indoor air quality, further support our controls business, which is this announcement, things like this, further support our mechanical group, like our previous announcement on partnering with an HVAC asset owner, right? So how do we drive additional value? So we're doing it. So how do I feel? I feel like our strategic imperatives, being 3 quarters of the way through, are well on our way towards building the company and the infrastructure that we want to see to have a very successful future. So we are quite excited where we are. I can't wait to report out additional information, additional values of our business, of the singles and doubles we hit every day. So I'm quite pleased at where we are 3 quarters into the way.
Very good, very good. And we're through the 3rd wave of COVID-19. How are your markets impacted, and how are you impacted, and what's changed?
Yeah, great question. I think when we started, clearly we were already in COVID when we started back in December, and we brought in a number of products, anticipate certain growth or certain opportunities. So here's where I think we are. A lot of the government rollout, right? So the government support financially of HVAC, air purification technologies, a lot of that came out, and say a few months ago, from a government perspective, unlocked. But that still means school boards, education facilities, it's not just overnight they award it. So there's a process. We're seeing some of those processes rolling out. And so we envision over the next, obviously the next quarter, but the next few months, the next quarter or so, you'll start to see a number of awards on those HVAC, air purification systems, and you'll start to see a number of rollout and execution until at least the end of the year and beyond. So it is going to take time and resources to get that done, but we're excited that we're not missing the boat on it. We've been waiting patiently for those dollars to be released, and we think we'll get our fair share of that. Beyond that, 3rd wave of pandemic, people are getting their vaccinations. We're certainly excited to be ready for, whether it's rapid testing and other ways that we can be supportive of opening the economy come this, end of summer, fall, for sure.
You announced a recent deal with a large HVAC asset company. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. I really would like to be more specific. And as you can appreciate, when we do these announcements or these deals, not every company we're doing it with necessarily wants certain information out there for various reasons. And there's good reasons why, in this case, I know they don't want it out there. But fundamentally, it means, we have two parts of the business that have been growing over the years. We have the controls business and the mechanical business. And this is about the mechanical business. This is about, as we have people on the road and going to various service contracts and doing work, this is about how do we grow a mechanical part of the business, and how do you mitigate the risk of hiring more people, taking on more risk of trying to grow your footprint until you get the work. So what we've effectively done is effectively filled our capacity of whatever resources we have on the mechanical side. We have an ability to grow that relationship as much as we want to grow it, and really on a very, day-to-day, week-to-week basis, use it quite well for our capacity filling of our resources. So we're excited, because what that means when it's all said and done, in addition to whatever revenue lift we get from that from a mechanical perspective, it means our utilization factor, i.e. our margin now of we're using our mechanical guys as much to 100% as we can, is just improved. And that's ultimately better on the bottom line, because we have fewer costs of labor sitting around not doing something. So that's effectively what that deal did for us, and allows us to sort of broaden our footprint into the residential market a little bit more, and get a far better understanding of how to scale that, and even geographically a broader section of Southwest Ontario. So it serves the purposes of how do we scale, how do we grow bigger than where we are today, and how do we do that in a very risk-averse way. And I think we've done a very good job at that. Our team did a great job of pulling that one in.
I have a few questions from the audience.
Absolutely, dying to take your questions. Please.
What's the projected revenue for, I know some of these you might not be able to answer. What's the projected revenue for UPI with the services agreement with large Canadian HVAC asset company to supply Southern Ontario customers?
Yeah, so again, great question. Like I just indicated, there's an ability for us to use as a tool, to use that relationship to grow and really secure as much additional work on the mechanical side as we really want to take on. The challenge becomes, the more people we hire and we dedicate to that, we just want to make sure that we're doing it in a very strategic way. So it's great to have that relationship. Can I tell you a figure? The range is quite significant of what it can be, but what for sure it will be, and I can really point to that, is that it means we'll have a far greater utilization factor of all the mechanics we do have, is really the intent of that. So from a percentage, could it be meaningful? I absolutely believe it'll be meaningful. I just couldn't tell you the range, and wouldn't dare to begin to sort of, even today we've had discussions about how we might be dealing with a few opportunities. So every day this could change back and forth, but I'm pleased that it's going to mean our mechanics are going to be quite utilized in this.
Very good. This is a question from Phil, one of our members. Any other testing that Health Canada has requested?
Testing that Health Canada has requested. So I mean, there's no testing that they request. If you're referring to our other investment, that will play out as soon as we get an update. Trust me, as soon as we get an update that can be conveyed, we'll be the first ones to convey that. And we obviously look forward to that, and we hope people hang on for the ride, and we're excited. So we just wait ourselves for more information.
So right now, UPI has gotten to a point where you guys are working on a lot of things, and there's a lot of investors that have taken positions in the stock. A lot of investors within our community that are long-term holders that really believe that UPI can go forward, that UPI can grow its revenue, that UPI can go to maybe $1. And right now you're sitting at 25 cents in Canada. So for UPI to go to $1, that would be a 300% return for investors. What do you think it's going to take for UPI to get to that point? Is it going to be huge revenue growth? Is it going to be a big acquisition? Is it just, a lot of hard work? Is it going to be, a big press release, some big news that's going to come? Is that something that you guys think about as a company? Is that something you talk about? Or is that not even something you don't think about?
Well, so what I'm going to do with that question is I can't obviously talk about what price we can achieve or not achieve. That's certainly not in our ability to do that. What I can say is that from a strategic plan perspective and what we've embarked on, this isn't to stay small. So it will absolutely involve, here we're doing this more, let me take you through a bit of the logic of this, right? If I want to go do an acquisition tomorrow of a group at West or a group in the US or whatever any other acquisition of a mechanical or controls company, think of what they look at. One is, well, okay, if we want to be sold, why you guys? Why would we sell to you? Why would we take a ride in your company? Is it a good enough story for us? Do we fit into that? Is this something where we want to be? Are you the new economy or the old economy? Why would we want to do that? And unless we want to burn through cash all day long, which I don't, certainly we have to have a compelling enough story and narrative as to why any person who owns a business who wants to exit says you're the ticket, and UPI is where I want to sell to, stock swap with. That's the objective. And so beyond that, it's also, okay, I want to lure more talent. Do I lure more talent before I show them what we're going to do with that talent, or do I start showing them the types of product solutions and approaches we're going to take in the marketplace? So all this is done by design to show people in this fiscal year that we have a plan and approach. We're demonstrating that we're bringing on products and services and solutions that make people say, I now want to become part of that narrative. And I can tell you today, it's happening where there are people saying, I want to come there. I want to come work with you again, or I want to do this with you. So that's a big part of, if anyone, I've done M&A for a number of years. If you don't have a compelling enough reason why people want to come to you and take a ride and take a tit in your train, you can't do this well. So the big part of the plan is we're getting that foundation set. It's set. We're on our way. We have a few more pieces that will be coming in over the course of weeks and months. 100%. We're going to continue to do that. But we're almost rounding that corner, and I can't wait to give better updates on here's the new strategic imperatives for the following year and following years from an overall objective. But it's to definitely be, in the coming years, hundreds of millions of dollars in gross revenue. Anyone thinking you're publicly traded and you're doing this for maybe we'll hit 20 million or 30 million, that's not the objective. The objective is to absolutely build a solid foundation that we then build upon and tuck under additional acquisitions and technologies. So it's, you got to start in the right spot, and we're fixing it where people know what the rules are, people know what we're going to move to the marketplace, and we now start building those other pieces. So appreciate the question. I don't think I answered it all, except to say, forget about the price of it. We're building a real growing business that we built on the success of its organic growth. Absolutely is a testament to what we have as an offering, but absolutely it's about tuck unders and acquisitions and investments that make the value of this business far beyond anyone's imagination right now.
It's interesting because the market is such an interesting place. I see so
that
many,
is an understatement, but go on.
Yeah, and I see so many companies because I read financials every day, and I'm talking to hundreds of companies, and there's companies, and I'm not going to mention names, that are making less than you guys trading at $2 right now.
Yeah.
Lots of them, lots of them.
But, Rich, we understand this. We deal with this all the time. We laid out a plan. No one knows us from Adam. We laid out a plan late last fall, literally. And from that plan, we've been executing. For me, I'm now into started my third quarter of execution myself. So, there's a plan we laid out with strategic imperatives. We're delivering on those. And soon you'll see, there's a bit of a lag effect. You start to see we've increased our backlog. We're getting more awards in than maybe originally we'd be bringing in. So we're definitely on the right path. But, we need to get out these, as these things roll out, as they play out, people will start to see they're credible. Unfortunately, and I'm naive this way. I'm chief growth officer of a publicly traded company. I do these interviews. I go out there and tell people what I'm thinking without crossing that line that I can't cross. And I'll tell you, there's too much of the market that looks at maybe what other people have done, and you've alluded to it in this marketplace. And I'm not too sure necessarily what these companies are selling and producing as results. We are building a real business. We're taking a 40-year business, underlying business, and we're putting it on steroids, and we're going to build all the pieces that, as Universal PropTech, have an amazing platform, a one-stop shop for healthy buildings in North America. That we're on that path.
No, and I like that.
I can't focus until I guess we get more credibility with shareholders, and I shouldn't say shareholders, with the people who aren't shareholders. As we get more credibility of, oh my God, Frank just did what he said he was going to do, then that's what's playing out. And I realize we make other investments, and people are now enamored with the other investment. you know what, this entire platform is exciting. We'll continue to talk about the entire platform and every other investment that will, make people say, oh my God, they've really found a way to allow us to invest in them, make investments in PropTech, and actually, have a great way to de-risk that return, de-risk that investment in a great underlying business and ability to get the lift on new technologies. I mean, this is what we're building.
Yeah, I just think that we're in such an interesting market where there's companies that are really overvalued, right? Because they are doing, let's say, similar revenue to you, and they're priced at $2, $3, $4. And then there's companies like you that are very undervalued, that are making $1 million a month, growing, tight share structure, getting money from different sources, and no debt, growing your revenue, and you're at 25 cents. So where's the disconnect? Because people are always like, how exactly do you figure out what a price of a stock is worth? I'm like, there is no exact.
Right? Rich, I would say in my experience over my 20 plus years of working, I would say you can always take a snapshot in time and what someone, look at that snapshot, look at what they're worth today. But I think it's pretty simple from our perspective. We're building a long-term platform so that in and of itself means you make different decisions. But in addition to that, every single day, everything we do is about how do we make the customer happier, right? If you make them happier, you're getting more work and you're going to sustain that. How do we keep staff engaged and happy and giving more ideas and innovation? We're doing that. And that's a process in of itself to get people to be interested in growing with the company. And the third is how are we doing all that and making shareholder value at the same time? So if you just do one of them, you're in trouble. You can get away with a great snapshot one day, but the other two will kill you in the midterm. So we're building something that is built on a solid foundation to accomplish all three. And anyone who says to me, you should do it differently, you should maybe care more about our share price than say those other components, my answer is all those components all together, they don't add up to three, they add up to the sum of the whole is far greater than three. And I guess just watch us and you'll see that value play out. But I can't comment as to why we're not more valuable, compared to say other comparables. I can certainly point to what I think are problematic in a lot of other comparables, but I'm really excited that Chris and I every day, our CEO and I every day talk about what we're building in real value. And I think anyone who talks to me, you can ask people, any investor who have ever had an email, a text, anything, can I ask you a question? Can I talk to you about something? I answer it and I deal with them. And every time I think they get a lot of comfort to know we're not bullshitting, pardon my French. We're actually giving people what they understand about our business. We're telling people what it's going to take to build this business, and we're doing it. So I appreciate your question and your sort of comment, but we're building something real, and it's built with a proper foundation. And I'm pretty excited that we're well on our path to doing that.
And I like that. There's so many companies that will, they put out press releases just because they're trying to get their stock up, right? We know this. Yeah. You guys are not that company, You guys are slow and steady wins the race. You're building a real business. You're not doing anything that's going to pump your stock up, and you're going to do it the right way based on revenue. I always say to people say to me,
I agree with you, Rich, 100%. If anything, I'd say I'm almost guilty of not putting out enough of the singles and doubles that make people understand that, oh, wait, they are credible. They are doing what they said they're going to do. And so I think you're going to see more of that. But we need people to see that we are having successes, that our underlying business and everything else we're working on are going to drive the success of their business. And I think we will do, and I will do a better job at conveying all of that. But you're starting to see a sense of that in the last week.
I think a lot of people come to me and they're like, how do you know if a stock is overvalued? How do you know if a stock is undervalued? How do you know which direction it's going to go? And I always say this, I don't decide the market. Frank doesn't decide the market. The shareholders determine what the stock is worth. Market makers, shareholders determine the value of the stock. Now, what would really drive the stock? Revenue, right? Yeah. Or a huge acquisition. For example, today I did a video on a company that just put an application to the NASDAQ. They're only a 50-cent stock, but they made an application to the NASDAQ, stock's up 22%. So there's these little things you start to realize as, being involved in the market, little things that people are doing. Okay, we want to move our stock. Let's make an application to the NASDAQ. We want to move our stock. Let's have revenue growth. So there's these things that you start seeing, like these building blocks you see put in place that companies are utilizing to create price appreciation, to create value, to create excitement for the stock. But at the end of the day, I was trying to say to people, I was like, hype is only going to take you so far. At the end of the day, you're going to have to justify your market cap based on your revenue and your assets and your liabilities. And one of the things that I really like about your company is, like I've said it before, no debt, growing revenue, making money, tight share structure, and a baby market cap, less than a 10 million market cap. So when I say to people, I think this is a company that could 10x, it's based on your market cap. I believe, based on what you said, if you're going to grow this business to being $100 million a year business, which is really what you just said,
then the objectives get way bigger than that. But I appreciate
bigger than that. We're under promoting, over delivering, right? So let's just say you want to grow to at least $100 million a year business, and you're only doing 10% of that. You're doing 10 million a year. Then that means that based on the market cap, that we should see the market cap grow to at least 100 million, if not closer to $1 billion. So if we grow this to 100 million market cap, which I think is very realistic, we see companies doing way smaller revenue than that, some doing no revenue that are at 100 million market cap.
Yeah.
And that's a 10x for investors. So if you're an investor, and there could be some shares, there may be some, fundraising, and you might have to acquire your growth by utilizing some shares along the way. So there may be some dilution along the way. But let's just say that at where you're at today, and if there was no share dilution at all, and you grew to 100 million market cap, that means you would go from 25 cents to $2.50. So as an investor, that's the opportunity. If you're willing to wait and be patient and grow with UPI, UPIPF in America, you could see yourself potentially investing in a company, and you hear directly from the Chief Growth Officer, Frank himself, that could grow to 100 million or more a year in revenue and is only doing about 10 to 12 million a year in revenue right now, which is still really good for a 25-cent stock.
Man.
This is what I'm trying to say. When I explain it to investors, this is how I explain it. There is no magic button, like Frank is saying, that's going to make the stock just go to $1 tomorrow. But with hard work and with acquisitions and with revenue growth, with real business, and I run a business, I know it's not that easy to just grow from 1 million a month to 10 million a month. That's a lot of work and infrastructure that needs to be put in place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you're right. And as I was saying earlier, the pathway is not going to solely be, say, VCI controlled. It's obvious. I mean, that would be, that'd be an interesting organic growth trajectory. It's really about, as I said earlier, you want to lure in, if you want to get the best bang for your buck, and you want to convince people to sell you their business, or to take a check from you versus someone else in their early stage technology, or you want to convince the right staff to leave those businesses and join us. You want to lure people that creates that accretive value in this business. They got to believe in your story. And we've spent the last few quarters making sure that our story is a great story, that it's built upon real business fundamentals, not, leverage and borrowing and creating a myth around it. This is real. And along the way, we are going to make some interesting bets that can themselves turn into great returns, but we're always going to have a solid fundamental business underneath us, and many of them that we continue to grow. And so as soon as we get to that point where, and everyone will know it, where we can start tucking under those additional businesses and start tucking under those additional platforms, then we will do it. But don't kid yourself. If anyone thinks we're just playing this to be a slightly bigger business, we're publicly traded for a reason. We understand that, and we understand, what we have in shareholders as they continue to grow into the thousands, and we're going to continue to focus on, and that's my role, continue to focus on building tremendous growth and value for customers, for staff, and for shareholders.
Fantastic. So R. Parsons asks, is this still a rocket?
So is it still a rocket? I think I probably should stay away from telling people that it's a rocket. But am I bullish? If the question is, am I bullish of what we're trying to achieve here? I can't answer when or how people say this thing should take off from a price perspective. That's not my role. But I can just say, I know what deals I'm working on and what technologies and what approaches we're making and what resonates and what doesn't, and how we're doing it. Do I think it's a rocket? So I can't answer that part. As just, I'm strapped in to what I know I'm delivering, and I'm content. You guys can tell me, is it a train? Is it a car? Is it a rocket? That's not my determination. I just know that I'm strapped in to this ride, and I'm taking it to where I need to get it to. And I'll let all you guys figure out if I'm doing a good job or not. But I can tell you every day, Chris and I, we're up until late hours of the night debating a number of components that are always going to make this business better and really hum beautifully. So I just continue to say, pay close attention. And as you said earlier, we built a business and we're continuing to build one. All we needed was to make sure we have the eyeballs. We're in Frankfurt, Toronto, and New York. And as long as we have those eyeballs and that access, we'll continue to drive awareness of what it is we're doing. And as we put more information out, I think that's ultimately going to be the test of how successful people perceive us or not.
So I have a question from I Am Pip Girl Stock Talk. Let's just say I'm not willing to unbuckle my seatbelt. We're going to fly when? I'm willing to wait with my belt on to find out.
Yeah.
So that's more of a statement. And I myself, I have shares and I'm willing to wait and I see the potential here. And I think that you guys are doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Been around the game for a long time. So
I wish I were as wealthy as my CEO, but my CEO, he's done a great job too. I mean, we both believe in this business. I obviously believe in it to put my reputation, my name, and my face out there and be solid behind what it is I know we're doing. And and I was in this business originally. I helped set it up. So I'm in this for the long haul, whether I like it or not. And Chris, our CEO, going out a few weeks ago and buying another 400,000 shares in the open market. I mean, you want confidence?
That tells you the story right there. It's $100,000 right there that he put into the market, believing in his business.
Yeah.
So, what type of messages do you get? Like, before you were listed in the U.S., we were like, we need a U.S. listing. We need a U.S. listing. We need a U.S. listing. Are you getting messages from people in America? Are you getting a message?
I think Chris and I don't look at all those messages and vice versa, but I know I personally get messages from across the spectrum, different parts of the globe, on everything from technologies to, are we going to come to this market? What are we doing? And, soon everyone will see what we're up to and what we're doing in different technologies and markets. But all the time we get messages, and I'll tell all of your viewers, because I think a lot of them are them. I love answering messages. We have calls all the time with investors, and a lot of them are yours, where we talk about, they ask their questions and we talk about what we can, just like this, and answer questions all day long. That's a critical piece of what we're doing to obviously make people comfortable that we're the right people to take on this ride.
Now, I mentioned earlier that a lot of companies, even companies that are like at 50 cents, are now making applications to the NASDAQ. Is that something that you guys would like to do eventually? I mean, obviously not today, but is the NASDAQ?
I can give you a very quick answer. It's certainly not been part of our conversation yet. I think we need to focus on where the business is going to grow to. We've got our short-term strategic imperatives, which we've been working on and quite successful, I might add. And then we have our longer-term plan, which we continue to sort of iterate and make sure, we're consistent on that. So, I can't say that that's something we've naturally, landed on yet, but I think it's simple. If we're creating the type of values that I know we can create an overall valuation or overall enterprise value of this business, then some of that is sort of obvious of what we're going to do in other markets down the road. But I think as we reach those points, we'll generally understand when's the right time to do that. But right now, it's about creating value. So everyone who's joined us, all of your investors, all your viewers who've been watching us, that they ultimately say, yeah, we made the right bet. These are the right guys to be behind. We like the business that they're building, and then we can continue to build off that. So I'd say, before this fiscal year ends, which is end of August, I think we're just going to have a very fun ride until the end of this time frame and be able to focus on the next battle beyond this fiscal year end.
Fantastic. Those are pretty much all the questions I had. Do you have anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
No, I think, again, reach out whenever you guys can reach out. There'll be a lot more news coming out. As I've said before, we're going to put a lot more singles and doubles of what we're hitting. So people are more aware of what it is we do every day from a business perspective. As the head of growth, we've done a lot of inside, changes within VCI to make sure we've really prepared it for proper growth, and we've sort of bifurcated sales from operations and really make sure we're ready for that growth. So, I think you're going to see a lot of signs of it in the coming weeks and months to demonstrate that.
Well, always a pleasure to have you on the show, Frank. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it.
And thank you guys for watching. Remember, Rich TV Live, guys, is strictly for information, education purposes. Please do your due diligence, do your research before you invest in anything that we talk about here on Rich TV Live. Invest in the best. The best is blessed. I do believe that we do, as a community, a very good job of looking at the companies fundamentally. And in my opinion, Universal PropTech is undervalued, underappreciated, underexposed, has a baby market cap under 10 million. And I think that this will be in the future a 100 million market cap company, which with simple math gives you an opportunity for a potential 10x. I can't guarantee it, but I am putting my money where my mouth is. I'm a shareholder, and I do believe that this company has a future. Thank you so much for all your hard work and effort you guys are doing, Frank. Keep up the great work. Frank Carnevale, the Chief Growth Officer of Universal PropTech, UPI in Canada, UPIPF in America. And have a nice day, everybody. We'll see you soon.